I woke up with the worst headache I've ever experienced before in my life. My tongue was stuck to the top of my mouth, and I just felt terrible. The worst. Felt like I was going to vomit. And when I was able to get enough energy to get up out of bed, I walked downstairs just feeling terrible, full of guilt and full of shame because I had no idea what happened the night before. And as I get downstairs to the living room, I see in the living room floor luggage is packed up. Brooke had packed bags, and she was leaving. She was going back to Louisiana. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jason Paulin, and this is another addition to Paulin Fitness. Thank you for joining the channel. I'm going to get really vulnerable today, and it's going to be tough, but I want to share my journey as it relates to alcoholism and addiction and some of the things that I did to overcome it. And this isn't going to be a fun topic, but I think it's necessary because if maybe I can help one person, then, that's a win in my book. But I guess we should just go back to the beginning. I graduated high school, and in high school, I was somewhat of a successful athlete. And, it seems like you just kind of follow the crowd. As much as I hate to admit that, the first time I experienced any alcohol was in high school. And I'll never forget the first time I took a drink. It felt weird. Like I'd never felt like that before ever in my life. I don't even know how to explain it. You felt like I was drunk, but how do you explain you're drunk to somebody that's never experienced that before? And I have to tell you, I kind of liked it a little bit. I kind of liked feeling that numbness a little bit. And I'll share a little bit here in a few minutes as to why. But that was my first experience. After college, I went to college in Iowa, and I have to also be honest with you guys that I didn't have the 4 years of college wasn't my best life. It wasn't. Some people talk about how college was so fun and they had such a great experience in college, and I have to disagree. For me personally, it was tough. It was a tough 4 years. I played college football, and I was far away from home, and it was a challenge. And I started drinking. In fact, I started drinking so much that I gained quite a bit of weight. I went to college weighing about 220 pounds. And after my first year of college, I was 270 pounds. So forget about the freshman 15. For me, it was like the freshman 50. And it was extremely challenging for me. But that's what we did. Every Friday and Saturday night, and even some of the weekdays, we would drink. And we would drink a lot. And I'm not talking about just a couple of beers. It would be a case of beers. And, that was really challenging. And what's so tough about this, guys, is that you have a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, especially if you get so drunk that you black out. Well, I was able to get through college. And then I moved to Colorado, and I'm from Boise, Idaho. And I was living with some of my college friends, and we were all roommates in Denver. And I was able to get a job working for this pharmaceutical company. It was a small generic pharmaceutical company. And I didn't have a car at the time. I moved to Denver on a Greyhound bus with 2 suitcases, saved up, and bought a little Mitsubishi Galant. But before that Galant, I was just relying on my friends to give me rides. And I was also taking some of their cars, and they were gracious enough to let me drive their cars around when they were using them. And a real horrible story that I want to share with you guys. And I want to share some stories with you guys today that only people that are close to me have heard some of these stories. So like I said, this is going to be vulnerable and this is going to be tough. But I just think that this potentially could help a lot of people, especially with what's going on in the world today. The social media is a highlight reel. It's not anywhere what people think it is with, what's being put on there. So I'll never forget one day, my good friend Stu, he had a Ford Explorer. It was new. It wasn't a brand new vehicle, but it was new to him. He still had the temporary tags on it, and I borrowed it. I went to this party. I went to go get a haircut. This is back when I had hair, and I went to go get a haircut. And at the haircut place, I saw a girl from my work, and she said, "We're having this party. Come on over." So like, all right, I'll go over there. And listen, guys, the last thing I remember is chugging a bottle of Captain Morgan's. And then the next thing I remember is being handcuffed to a hospital bed. I had ran a red light, hit somebody. I had no idea what happened. No clue. No clue. Like I said, the next thing I remember is being handcuffed to a hospital bed. And you'd think that that would be rock bottom for me. You think that I would be able to figure it out. Like, okay, well, obviously you have a problem, Jay. You can't be drinking. But no, that wasn't rock bottom. I quit drinking for about a couple months, and so that's what happens too, guys. With an addict, people that struggle, things happen in their life that were really challenging for them. So then they quit, and then they go back, and then they start drinking again, and I start drinking again, and then something bad happens, and then you say, well, it's the hard alcohol. I'm going to quit drinking the liquor, and I'm just going to stick to beer. And then you just drink beer, and then the same thing happens, and you're like, well, it's because I had this, and I didn't eat dinner with it, or I didn't eat food. So as long as I eat food with my beer, then I'll be fine. And you justify all this stuff, and it's so sad, and it's a vicious cycle, and you go back. Fast forward a little bit, I met my beautiful wife, and we, we're doing our thing. We moved up to Evergreen. We opened up a gym, and I have to say that opening up that gym was one of the best things that happened to me, because it gave me some purpose in life. In that, all right, I've got some responsibility now. I've got some obligations, and I got to stay focused for that. But it still wasn't rock bottom when I messed up. And I'll tell you another story. I said it in the very beginning, but we had gone through some challenges in our business, and with the economy was really hard back in 2008, and we were able to get through it. But sometimes you also drink to numb yourself when things are tough. Like I said, responsibilities and obligations, although that is a good thing, sometimes it can be a really bad thing, because that's all you can think about. And you've set these goals in your life, and you have these dreams that you're going to do, but they just seem so daunting, especially when life's hitting you down and beating you up, and it's a challenge. And so you're starting to think, oh, am I ever going to get this? Am I ever going to do this? Am I ever going to accomplish my goals? And so you have all this anxiety coming up. And so what do you do to battle that? Well, let's go grab a drink. That'll make it better. I'm just going to have one drink. All right, that's the famous last words. I'm just going to have one drink. And one of the scariest times of my life is when Brooke had the bags packed. I woke up feeling terrible, go downstairs, and she's standing in the living room with bags packed and ready to leave. She's like, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. This isn't what I signed up for. I didn't think that this is how my life is going to turn out. And I'm going back to Louisiana until you figure things out. And that was really hard. And so you think that that would be rock bottom. And I'm about to lose my family. But no, I definitely cleaned up my act for a few more months, and try to stay focused. And as this process of me trying to quit drinking alcohol, the mess ups would be far and few in between. So I would go longer. I'd go 3 or 4 months longer, 5 months longer. But then every once in a while, I'd have a really bad relapse. And it was back in 2011. This was, after years of struggling and trying to stay focused, and, having mess ups here and there, but I'd get back on the wagon. And I'll never forget, in 2011, I woke up also really feeling bad, hungover. It wasn't one of my worst hangovers. I mean, I remember the night before, so it wasn't like a complete blackout. But I remember waking up feeling terrible, hungover, and my son at the time, he was 4 years old. He was about to turn 4, actually. And so he was, the next month This was in July. In August, he turned 4. So he was almost to turn 4, and he jumps on my bed. Come on, Daddy, let's go play. Come on. And I say, no, buddy, I feel terrible. Daddy has a headache. I don't feel good. Let me just rest for a little bit longer, and then I'll come out and we can play. So he says, great, gives me a big hug and a kiss and says he loves me. And he runs, jumps off the bed. He runs to the door. And right when he gets to the door jam, he turns around and he says, Daddy, I love you so much. I don't know what I'd do without you. And that hit. That was hard. That was hard for me to hear. So let me give you guys some context. When I was 6 years old, I lost my father to a really bad alcohol-related accident. He died instantly. And I was like, holy crap. The same thing's going to happen if I don't get my act together. The same exact thing. I need to break the cycle. And coincidentally, guys, I had no idea. You know, when bad things happen in your life, you kind of block them out. You try not to remember that stuff. Whether that's subconsciously, I don't know, but you block that stuff out. And it wasn't until a few years later that I realized that that same day I quit drinking alcohol, July 24th, 2011, that was the anniversary of the day that my dad died, July 24th, several years later. It also happened to be my sister's birthday. Now, I didn't plan this. I didn't plan on July 24th, okay, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to quit drinking. I didn't plan this. I think it was a godsend, guys. I really do. And so from July 24th, 2011, moving forward, I have not drank. And I never did any AA. And I think AA is a wonderful program. But when something is so convicting to you, for you to say, you know what, this is it. I've got little people depending on me. I've got a wife. I've got responsibilities. I got a lot of stuff going on. Why? The same thing's going to happen to me if I don't break the cycle. I got to break the cycle. I got to do something about this. And so that's what happened. Now, let me tell you, it always hasn't been, rainbows and unicorns since July 24, 2011. It's been a challenge. I know that there were several times that I was very tempted, and I'll share some of those with you guys, but that was the defining moment when my son said, I don't know what I'd do without you. You can do all kinds of research on alcoholism and addiction, and one of my favorite people that I follow is Dr. Gabor Mate. He's a psychologist, and I think he's from Canada, and I think he's originally from Hungary, but he always talks about addiction as childhood trauma. Now, I don't know. I mean, obviously, he's extremely intelligent, and I do think childhood trauma has some impact on that. And I also want you guys to know that I was raised with lots of love. I have an awesome mom, stepdad that basically he's my dad. I always tell him he's my dad because he's the one that raised me. And so it's not that I didn't have love. It's just sometimes things happen to you where you just feel like you need to numb yourself from some of the issues. Maybe subconsciously you're trying to push down. I have no idea. But moving forward, I had gone down this path of like, all right, I'm not going to drink anymore. And I want to share with you guys some of the things that I've done, a protocol, if you will, what I've done to be able to stay sober, coming up now on 12 years of me being sober. And so first and foremost, guys, I have to do something physical every day. I have to get physical, whether that's going to the gym. That's really my thing, is the gym. I always say the gym is my antidepressant. I have to get up early and go to the gym, whether that's, running on a treadmill, getting outside, but really it's the lifting weights. I like working out and pushing myself in that sense. And that's really helped me. The gym also, as I told you earlier, Fitness Together, the gym that we started really saved me because I had to get up and go to the gym, and I couldn't do that hungover. I had to be, I had to, be in the top of my game. So that saved me, that put me down a path of, planting seeds, of making sure that I would kind of stay focused. The other thing that I thought was very important is nutrition. Now, I'm not here to preach at all. And by the way, too, guys, I'll tell you, I love alcohol. I do. It just didn't love me. It's made me do a lot of bad things. And so, if you guys can do that and keep you know on top of it, then great. But I couldn't. With nutrition, I always try to get protein in. And like I said, I'm not trying to get preachy. I definitely have some donuts here and there, and I definitely enjoy eating some foods that aren't so good for you. But I really focus on trying to get a certain amount of protein in every single day. I try to limit my processed foods, all the sugars, the white breads, and I just really try to focus on healthier options. And that's been a big help for me too. And the other thing that I've done too that has really kept me on track is setting goals. And I'm not just talking about goals, I'm talking about physical goals. And maybe I'm going to train for a marathon. And it's interesting, when I have a physical goal that I'm working towards, everything else in my life seems to fall in place. And so I would encourage you guys to set a physical goal. Maybe it's a 5K. I'm training to do a 5K. Maybe you want to do it when, maybe you want to be a bodybuilder and you want to get on stage. Maybe you want to join a jiu-jitsu gym and do a competition, a jiu-jitsu tournament. I don't know. But what is it that you can do, that work towards, that's going to help you stay focused? And I encourage you guys to do that. All right. And then the other thing that really helped me out, I said earlier that there were some times where I had some challenges, where I almost had a relapse. And there's one in particular where I was so close. I mean, I was this close to having a couple of drinks and saying, you know what? And it's interesting too, the minds we play, the games we play in our mind, I should say. We talk ourselves into certain things, right? And it'd been like 3 years since I had a drink, and I was like, I'm good now. I can totally control it. I can have a beer. I'll be fine. And we had Brooke and I, we had just received an award for our business, and I was really happy, and she was happy, and everybody was celebrating. And it seems like you either drink to forget or you drink to celebrate. And so, my old school ways were starting to creep up, and I'm like, I got to drink to celebrate. We just won this great award, and we're going to do it. And we were at this big convention center, and our hotel was across the street from the convention center. And after we won this award, that whole walk across the convention center, across the street to the hotel, and it just so happened in the hotel lobby was a bar. And that whole walk, I was going through my mind, I'm good now. I can have a drink. One drink, it's no big deal. I'll just have one drink and then I'll shut it down. It'll be fine. It's no problem, right? I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but you're like, it's fine. Just have one beer. And as I get closer to that bar in that lobby, I'm trying to figure out what kind of beer I want. And I decided I was going to have a Blue Moon with an orange slice. That's what I really wanted. And as I get to the entrance of the bar in the lobby, I see a friend that I told that I quit drinking. And I see a vet, and I realize, oh my gosh, I told her that I quit drinking. What is she going to think if I have a beer right now? And I kind of brushed it off. I got closer to the bar, and I see a few other friends that I told that I quit drinking. And then I'm thinking, what are they going to think of me, my character, if I told them I was going to quit drinking, and all of a sudden they see me with a beer in my hand? And that was it. That was enough. Seeing those friends and me telling them that I quit drinking, and I had been sober now at that time like 3 years, that was enough for me to say, okay, that's enough. I'm not going to have a beer. I turned around, walked out of the bar, went into the lobby, and we continued to celebrate. But that was that mental battle that I was having in my mind with this whole addiction. So my point is if you guys are struggling and you want to try to make a difference, go public. Tell people. If you want to lose weight, tell people. If you're trying to make a difference and maybe get out of debt, tell people. Go public with your goals. People care about you. They love you, and they're going to be supportive. And if they aren't supportive and they're like, come on, Jay, come on, have a beer, you're fine. Maybe we need to take stock on who our friends are. And these guys probably aren't our close friends. These guys probably aren't the ones you want to run to when you're struggling, because they know what's going on. They know how it affects you. And so I would find different friends if that's the case. All right, guys, it's time for our one thing. I always love this section. So today, my one thing is just to move. And don't worry, don't overthink it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. If that just means getting up early and walking for 10 minutes, then great. You know, if you have a smartwatch and it counts your steps or anything that counts your steps, and set a goal. All right, I'm going to, have 5,000 steps today. On your lunch break, go for a walk. Obviously, if you can work out, then that's great too. So just every day, try to do something, just to move, whatever that looks like. So that's my one thing. Now, let me recap real quickly on things that I covered. First and foremost, guys, whenever change is required, we need to make a decision. So make that decision, whatever that looks like, whether you're battling some addictions, temptations, alcoholism, or whatever it may be, make the change, make the decision to make that change. And that's the first step for sure. Second thing is I would tell you to make sure that you go public, because it's going to help hold you accountable. And then get a physical goal, right? Maybe you're training for a 5K. Maybe you're training to do a triathlon. Maybe you want to set a personal best with the bench press or deadlift or squat. Set a goal and give it a time and when you're going to achieve that. The next thing, get your nutrition dialed in. So whatever that looks like. There's so many platforms out there with diets, and there's keto and veganism and carnivore and Mediterranean. Look, they all work. The one that's going to work best for you is the one that you're going to be able to follow. So follow it and stay focused with that, because that's going to help every area in your life. And then the next is make sure that you're on a good supplement protocol, good vitamin supplements going to help cater towards your goals. And then the last is just to get connected with something that's bigger than you. I'm a huge believer. And so I think if you can get connected to something that's bigger than you, that's going to make a huge difference. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you. And go ahead and like this, if you like it, subscribe, and we will see you next time. You guys have a good day.